Version 2.12 has been in testing for a long while, and the most recent playtest build has had a few additions as well as a few tweaks, so we're going to cover that in this video. If you guys missed my other videos on version 2.12, there'll be links at the end of this video as well as in the description below. So let's get into it. Vehicle explosion damage to nearby players has finally been added. It is probably something that should have been added a very long while ago, but better late than never. All vehicles aside from the MISC motorcycle will have a 10 meter damage radius, and based on my testing, around a 3 meter lethal radius. If you are within the lethal radius, you will only be incapacitated, not dead. Now the MISC motorcycle only has a 5 meter damage radius and no lethal radius. This is quite an interesting change, and it definitely adds a new element of risk. Especially for crewmen dismounting trying to get a repair done, it adds another level of lethality, which is going to change things up a little bit. Also adds another risk element to infantry dismounting. If they've hit a mine or been laddered or something, they're going to take damage running away. Some more changes that involve vehicles and explosions. If you're in an open top vehicle, you will not take damage or die from an explosion that happens below the turret. It has to happen above the turret now, which is great. But if you're in an exposed gunner position, like on the back of a techie or Scimitar, you're going to take damage or die.
You want to test the Ragdolls,
right? So yeah, Ragdolls have received some much needed improvements. There is a noticeable improvement with the Ragdolls, the biggest being momentum is carried on now, so bodies should reliably fall in the direction that they're moving. Limbs aren't flailing around as much and the bodies themselves aren't flopping around like a beach fish. The Ragdolls also appear less floaty, though there is still some floatiness. I'd like a bit more weight to it so bodies drop like a sack of potatoes. The C9A2 for the Canadians has had its front sight post adjusted. It no longer utilises the M249s, but something a bit more authentic. This isn't a big change, but it is a nice little authenticity touch. The visual effects for Backblast for every single AT has been adjusted. The visual effects themselves will linger a lot longer in the wind, approximately 12 seconds, making it a lot easier to spot. Backblast has also received the muzzle flash treatment with increased visibility across distance, so it's going to make it a lot easier to identify where AT is engaging you from. The days of Ghost AT firing off and just disappearing is coming to an end, but only if this long-standing issue is fixed. After firing off your AT weapon, if you switch to something within your inventory, it will make the backblast effects disappear. The M17 Pistol for the US faction has had a texture update. The slide colour has changed from black to the more authentic coyote brown. Now I'm really excited for this, sound occlusion. So it looks like we're moving closer and closer to the sound reflection system that was teased a long time ago. If you guys have not seen the videos for that, they'll be linked down below in the description. So far it only seems that the sound occlusion has been added to the Mestia train tunnel. This isn't the first time sound occlusion has been in Squad. It was originally in the pre-alpha on certain maps within certain buildings like the Somari cheese graters, but was ultimately removed due to performance reasons as certain CPUs had issues with Squad's soundscape. Performance issues was also one of the main reasons the sound reflection systems development was put on hold. Andis has been quite busy and we have a lot of new sounds within the game. Andis has definitely done some good work here. It's nice to see the 74U get some love. I really like the single fire sound, but I think the full auto sound just has a little bit too much bass to it. I think the overall sound profile just needs to be a bit sharper and have a bit more of a crack or bark to it. It would also be pretty cool to see the 74U added to more roles. Something else I'd like to see is the shorter barreled variants of the full length rifles have their sounds adjusted. With the shorter barrel comes a louder gunshot profile and it has a bit more of a bark to it. This would be pretty cool to see reflected in the game. The added details to the explosion sound effect from when you're inside a vehicle from an IED or mine are really well done. The addition of added debris and metal clunking around is a nice touch. I think the third person audio of the landmine exploding needs to be adjusted a bit more. It does sound crisper and less distorted, but it also sounds a bit quieter compared to live version. The new Spandrel firing sound effects, absolutely superb. Things don't stop here either, and this has also worked on footstep sounds. So to keep it short here, I think the new sound effects are pretty good sounding. They definitely have a bit more variation and grit to them. I can't confirm if there's been improvements in regards to hearing footstep sounds. I know there is some inconsistencies with hearing footsteps in the current live build and have been for quite a while, but maybe this will be addressed in the future. Mestia has yet again received some love, with some improved terrain shaders, new grass, and improved water visuals. Rocks have had some added details, with moss and grit added to them, as well as a wetness shader added to rocks by water sources. At the train bridge outpost capture point found on ASV2, the defensive emplacements have had camo netting added. The camo netting does have some functionality. From one side it is a lot harder to see through, while on the other side it does become transparent and makes it easier to peek from. So it does offer some concealment for the shooters, but with the addition of the new muzzle flashes, it sort of negates this a little bit. Manic has also received some love with new landscape shaders, as well as the new rock textures. One change I came across that I didn't like is the reduction in long grass that can be found in certain areas of the map. I think it looked better. Along the waterways though, the new terrain shaders and the new rocks definitely add a nice aesthetic, especially with the new lighting. It looks really amazing. We're just going to quickly touch on muzzle flashes again, as I managed to play a full server within one of the play tests. So there's a definite improvement with the muzzle flash visibility, and definitely adds a new situational awareness element. it definitely does make finding bushwalkies a lot easier, and is going to make people fire and maneuver a lot more, as remaining in a static position is going to be a lot more deadlier than before. The British MBT, the Challenger 2, has received a buff in the form of an increased ammo count. Up until this point, the Challenger only had 14 AP rounds, which has now been increased to 25. It originally had only 9 rounds of HESH and now has been increased to 16, and 3 rounds of smoke, which has been increased to 6. The British reconnaissance vehicle, the Scimitar, has also been buffed. It will no longer instantly explode from a single headshot, but will instead be taken down to 10 HP where it will start burning. This change, along with the Challenger buff, is a nice little buff for the British faction overall. The AT4 and the Carl Gustaf heat has been nerfed with a damage reduction to bring it in line with light weapons, though the AT4 has the advantage of higher muzzle velocity and higher penetration still. At the same time, it's received a slight little buff with its rearm cost being lowered. Originally it was 50 and it has been reduced down to 35. The last few things I want to cover, just some miscellaneous things. 2 really good vehicle related fixes have been done, one with the commander seat jitterbug being resolved, as well as the double damage bug, which is awesome to see being fixed. They've both been around for a little while, so it's nice to see it being addressed finally. And for RAS lovers, there's a new experimental RAS being added to Yeharivka, Gorodok and Nava, so if you want to play that, check out the new layers. Anyway, this is pretty much it for this video. I'll catch you guys later and I'll see you in the next one.